Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome back to the next session of Social Science, children. We have been seeing about the key elements of democracy, and now we are going to continue with the same lesson. We have seen about participation and accountability. Participation is nothing but taking part in the activities of democracy. And what about accountability? The government is answerable to us for all the activities done by them. So now today we are going to see about conflict resolution and equality and justice. First we will see with conflict resolution. So what is a conflict resolution? We have seen in the starting of this lesson, when there are a group of friends, maybe 10 or 50, and when we plan to go for a movie, each one will have a different opinion, right? So when it happens in a group of friends itself, then what about a country? Definitely there will be difference of opinions. There will be more opinions, and the chances of conflicts and the disagreements are high. Okay, so we are just going to see how the government will enter into it and how it will solve all these conflicts. Okay, so we've seen that when a group of people live together, there are more chances of disagreements. Okay, so there will be different point of view for everyone. Each one will have their own point of view. So the different points of view are important issues are faced by the country. So each one is going to say one thing, and how will the decision be taken? So now there will be more, so that is one kind of conflict. The other kind of conflict is we have very limited resource in the country. See, for example, in Chennai and all, during the May month or June month, the water will be so scarce. They will not have water at all. What will happen? A lorry will come. The lorry will have only the capacity of it, right? What will happen? Many people will rush along with all the vessels, whatever buckets, whatever they have, they will just rush. They will fight for it, right? So we have very limited resource, but we have more people, right? So at that kind of situation, conflicts will arise. Okay, then this difference of opinion. So what will happen during this water lorry comes, no? There will be a competition who gets more water, right? I am going to take 4 buckets, you have taken 3 buckets. No, I have to take and 1 more bucket. So like this, there is going to be a big competition, big fights will happen, right? So this difference in point of views, difference in opinions, and the competitions leads to conflicts. Okay, so these are all the sources of conflicts. So on that situation, when all these conflicts goes beyond the control, when it is uncontrollable and creates a big mess in the country, government has to enter into that particular situation or in that particular issue, and government should solve it. Okay, so that is the important work of the government. So we will see some examples and we will see what is conflict resolution by the government. Okay, so in democracy, it is usually initiated by the executive branch of the government. Executive branch, who comes under this executive branch? Yes, the group of ministers. Group of ministers comes under this executive branch. Clear? And it is carried forward. See, the ministers will make some, will create a group like a committee like thing. Okay, the group at ministry level, we call it as committee. So they create a committee like thing and they hand it over the issue to the judicial department, and this judicial department, with the help of that committee, they will take care of the issue and they will find a resolution. Clear? So now we are going to see a case study of the conflict resolution. Okay, so we are in Tamil Nadu. We have our neighbor state Kerala. Okay, so there is a river going from Kerala to Tamil Nadu, flowing from Kerala. The river's name is Periyar. Okay, and a dam was built by the Britisher in between this river, so that Tamil Nadu will get the water properly. Okay, the agreement was made and all those things were there. Okay, first the Britisher who built was John Pennywhick. Okay, he was the engineer or the Britisher who initiated this dam. Okay, so he built this dam and everything was going smooth, and after some hundreds or thousands of years, some hundreds of years now, what happened, Kerala is telling that the dam is not in good condition. The dam has become, it is very old now, so it is not in good condition, so we have to rebuild this dam. Okay, but the Tamil Nadu is not accepting it. Okay, this dam is built in the place of Kerala. The place where the dam is built is belonging to Kerala, but it was built by Tamil Nadu, and the maintenance of this dam is also taken care by Tamil Nadu. So what happens? On all these things, Kerala and Tamil Nadu went into a disagreement. Kerala didn't accept what we said, Tamil Nadu didn't accept what Kerala said. So a very big fight was going on, many arguments, many cases, many things went on. Kerala was not accepting. See, previously they were giving 152. Okay, the dam capacity was 152 feet. Okay, but what happened, due to, as they said that the dam is not in a good condition, they reduced it to 136 feet. So due to this, the districts which were dependent on this water, okay, dependent on this mostly of the Madurai, okay, they got affected because they had scarcity of water. So what happened, they filed their case, the case went on, and in 2006 Supreme Court gave a judgment that the water level from 136 feet can be increased to 142. Okay, it can be increased to 142 feet. That was said. But what happened again, Kerala didn't accept this. Okay, they were continuously keeping it in the 136 feet only. So finally in 2014, Supreme Court gave the judgment that Kerala should follow this judgment, and the separate committee was formed by the court. Okay, so a separate committee was formed to take care of all the issues that comes for this Mullai Periyar Dam. Okay, so the committee is functioning even today. So any issue that pertains to this dam is being taken care by them. So this is the example. Even today, the cases, that is, the people have not completely accepted the judgment, but then this is just an example that the government will intervene in the issues when it is not under control. When it goes beyond the control of the two states, then government has to intervene, and the government has did its part. This is the example of conflict resolution. Okay, so now we are moving on to equality and justice. So equality is nothing but being treated equally. Okay, so it is the most important feature of democracy, universal, and one such example for this equality is universal adult suffrage. What is suffrage? It is franchise. We have seen already universal adult franchise, right? It is nothing but the right to vote, right? It ensures the political equality in India. So, but we also have social and economic inequalities which is there even today in our country. Okay, so we will see one by one. The inequality is based on the vast diversity in India. What is diversity? There are many differences in us. What is differences then? Yes, we are varying in religion, caste, creed, color, gender, many differences are there, right? So this leads to discrimination. Okay, so first comes diversity. Because of this diversity, it takes us to discrimination, and this discrimination takes to inequality. Clear? So this diversity leads to discrimination, and discrimination leads to inequality. So what is inequality? It means that justice is not there. All are not treated being equal. Okay, denial of justice. Clear? So now we are going just to see an example. See, for example, there are two students, okay, two child. One is X and the other one is Y. X is being a boy and Y is being a girl, okay. And you see, if he is going to be a boy from high class. High class means I'm rich, okay, in financial condition if they are going to be rich. And if this girl is going to be from lower class, which means poor, okay. Then if the boy is going to be from the forward caste or the higher caste, okay, higher class based on caste, and she is going to be again in lower class because of this caste, and he is a boy, she is a girl. So what are all the consequences? See, this has nothing to do with the child being treated equally, but our diversity has taken us to this way. See, all these are called as diversity. Okay, this is diversity. So based on this, what will happen when a particular place, see, they are going to get admitted in a school. They cannot go to a high class school. Both cannot go because he is financially good but she is not financially good. They can pay the fees but she cannot pay the fees. Okay, they are poor family. Then if it is going to be based on the caste, he will get admission wherever he wants, but she will not get. Okay, and here being a boy, his family will support him in all ways, but being a girl, no, they are not treated equally. This is the discrimination. So diversity leads to discrimination. So because of this, what will happen? He will get a good quality of education, he will go to a better college, he will go to a good job. But she, what will happen? She will not go to a good school because she cannot pay the fees. She will not get admission because of her caste. So she will go to a very normal school, she will not get a good education, and finally what will happen? Being a girl, why do you want to study is going to be the question again. Today it is not there mostly, but in olden days it was there. So why should you study? Anyway, you are going to get married and you are going to work at home. That's all. You are going to do all the household works. Why should you study for that? This was the question. So based on all these diversities, discrimination came, and because of this discrimination, inequality came. So people were not treated equally. So to eradicate all these inequalities, okay, so government made sure to make many laws and rules that the justice is being taken care, that everyone is being treated equally. Okay, so let us see some of the measures taken by the government which helped to help the people to be treated equally. Okay, so first thing is, in the olden days, the most common cause, the main reason for this difference was caste system. Okay, and the cruelest expression of this discrimination was untouchability. See, the higher class people continued to be in higher class. These lower class people were not even allowed to wear a good dress. They were not even allowed to wear slippers when they walk on the road in olden days. Okay, so this was the most cruelest way to treat a person as a slave. Okay, so here you can see the group of people standing without a dress on their top because they were not allowed to. Okay, so that is untouchability. And so what happened? These Dalit, this untouchable, that is the people of this lower caste were called as Dalits. Okay, they were denied, they were not given education, they were not given employment, and even the most important facility of health care was also denied to them. They were not being given all these things. So later what happened? We have seen Dr. Ambedkar in our previous lesson. Who is Dr. Ambedkar? He is father of Indian Constitution, right? Father of Indian Constitution. So when he started to voice out for this Dalits, when he started to voice out for this lower class people, many people joined with him and they started working on removing this untouchability from India. So, and finally Article 17 was passed in the Constitution of India, stating that untouchability is not only a sin, it is not only a wrong thing, but it is a punishable offense. So if we are not going to treat everyone equally, then we can be punished. This was the law passed. Okay, so untouchability, the Article 17 is one such example for ensuring the equality and justice. Now the other one is for ensuring the social equality in India based on the caste. There were many differences we have seen. So what happened, government has made separate reservation policies for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Okay, so government has made reservation for this particular caste and people. See, we have seen that government is saying that we should not follow caste, or we should not just differentiate people based on the caste. Government is saying us, but why did they pass a particular law for these people alone? Because these people were not treated equally with everyone. So government wanted to safeguard a group of people with equal rights and equal opportunities in education or employment or whatever. So they started to give a reservation for this kind of people. So they themselves discriminated people, okay, for a welfare of a group of people. Clear? So seats were reserved for them in parliament and the government run colleges and schools. So a particular percentage of seats were given for these people, SC and ST. Okay, scheduled caste we say it as SC and scheduled tribes are ST. Okay, so a particular percentage of place was given for these people so that they can continue their education or the employment without any disturbances based on this caste. Okay, so jobs were reserved for them in public sector organization. What is a public sector organization? It is a government organization. Okay, so the jobs were reserved for them. They have given a particular percentage of seat in schools, colleges, jobs, all that belongs to government. Okay, so such policy of reservation is called as positive or protective discrimination, just to safeguard a group of people. If this discrimination is going to help, that is called as positive or protective discrimination. Clear? And finally, the last thing we are going to see, the unequal treatment based on gender. We have seen the unequal treatment based on caste, and we've seen about untouchability, then we have seen about scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. Now the unequal treatment based on the gender. So in olden days, even at some places today, boys are given more priority than being girls. Okay, so see, the based on gender is another common example. Okay, even today girl children at many places are unwanted. They don't want to have a girl child. Many parents are like that even today. They are not being treated equally. Okay, so this is a very serious issue, and government has come up with many laws. Okay, many laws to promote the equal treatment of the girl child and women equally. Here you can see the picture. When you educate a girl, you educate a nation. Okay, and the girl saying that I have a dream too, I want to learn like you. So which means that girls are denied the equal opportunities. So there are many laws that has been in practice for helping in favor of girl childs, and there have been many practices for eradicating this girl child, like female feticide, infanticide, that is killing a girl child. Just a child is born as a girl, immediately they kill the child. Okay, and they started asking dowries, many child marriages took place, and many domestic abuses even after the marriage. They were continuously hurting the girls or women. Okay, so for this purpose government started a campaign called Beti Bachao Beti Padhao. Okay, Beti Bachao Beti Padhao is nothing but Save Girl Child, Educate Girl Child. Okay, so this campaign was started by the government, and it started to increase the awareness about the importance of girl child. Okay, so to increase the population of women at grassroots. Grassroots is nothing but at the basic level. Okay, from the basic level, everyone should get opportunity being a girl. So for that purpose, in all the sectors, even in the local governing bodies, women are given 1/3 opportunity. Clear? So the government, the Department of Women Welfare and Girl Child Welfare have announced a day from 2008. From 2008, okay, we have been celebrating a day on January 24th as National Girl Child Day. So like this, many measures have been taken by the government to eradicate the gender inequality also. So was that clear, children? With this, we have come to the end of this lesson. See you soon in the next session. Thank you. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.